Breakfast at Tiffany's is no doubt Truman Capote's most famous work, but he also wrote a few other things that this book has. Let's look at them in Breakfast at Tiffany's and Three Stories. Welcome back to BG's Books. I'm Mr. BG, and today I will be looking at Breakfast at Tiffany's and Three Stories by Truman Capote. So, as you can see, it only says Breakfast at Tiffany's on here, but there actually are three more stories, which I will go into very briefly. But anyway, so of course, Breakfast at Tiffany's, it was Truman Capote's most famous work. It was a novella published in 1958, and then it became a very famous movie starring Audrey Hepburn in 1961, and the rest was history. But so I'm just going to be honest, if you grew up with the Breakfast at Tiffany's movie, you're probably going to be very disappointed by the novella. The novella is very much a lot more cynical, and then the movie is your basic standard rom-com that's really popular and stuff. So, without getting too much into spoilers, I was not too big on this collection. There are 4 stories, and out of the 4 of them, I only really, I didn't really like any of them, but I found some more tolerable than others. So anyway, yeah, it's depressing, but that's just kind of how things go sometimes. But anyway, so let's dive right on into these stories and talk about what they are about. Alright, and so because this is a story collection, we will obviously be going through every story one at a time, similar to other videos. And of course, the first story on our list is Breakfast at Tiffany's itself. So basically, Breakfast at Tiffany's is about this unnamed narrator, similar to Fight Club. And basically, he kind of documents his whole adventures and conversations with this woman named Holly Golightly. Now, basically, it's eventually revealed that she's actually a runaway from home, and her real name is Lula May or whatever. Her name is not Holly Golightly, but she basically is trying to run from her past, from her Nebraska lifestyle or wherever she's from. She's from some sort of place that isn't New York City, and she basically tries to compensate for herself by, getting with rich men, acting rich, talking rich, stuff like that, even though she's really no better than the rich people, because she's basically just lying and very manipulative and stuff. And she's trying to live her life as a lie, as she wants to live versus how she actually lives. So basically, this story is just kind of a very critical lens of, I guess, rich people. I don't really know, but anyway, the point is that I also want to explain the title Breakfast at Tiffany's. Is that Breakfast at Tiffany's, or Tiffany's, this restaurant where she constantly has breakfast at, is where she only really feels like her true self, and that's about it. So really, this is about 87 pages long in this version that I have here. And it's probably going to be the best story in this collection just because that it's the longest and therefore it has the most character development. Even though I was really bored by this one at times, I was not a big fan of the writing style. And Holly Golightly, I know this was intentional, but she was just kind of a terrible character, and I was really more invested in what the narrator was going on about instead of Holly. So really, Breakfast at Tiffany's is the best story in here, but even that one's not that good. So keep in mind, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't have it's not like the movie bias or anything. I just was not a fan of the writing style here, and I just found all the characters really unlikable, and I just found it really boring at times. But anyway, that was Breakfast at Tiffany's. That was, of course, our flagship story here. And then the next story that we have is House of Flowers, starting on page 89. And I'm going to be honest, this is the one I know the least of, because I tried to look up a plot synopsis so I can try to recap it to you, but one does not exist on the internet. I looked, believe me. And the only thing I can say is that this one woman lives in Haiti, and then she goes to the U.S. to be with this man, but then she realizes that maybe she doesn't love this man after all, and so she returns to Haiti and then asks her friends to basically tie her to a tree for whatever reason. Again, I'm just kind of saying what I remember here. I'm not too sure that she fell out of love with the man or whatever. I'm just saying what I remember. And the tree thing, that was absolutely strange. This is definitely the strangest story in this little collection here. And I don't know, it was just too weird and too confusing for me. So anyway, that was House of Flowers. And then the third story we have is a diamond guitar. A diamond guitar. Yeah, that one. So I'm going to be honest, this is probably my least favorite story in the whole collection. It's basically kind of like what I imagined Shawshank Redemption to be, but not as good. Basically, it's about this guy named, I don't remember what his name is, but he has a name, and he's been in prison for like his entire life, for like the past like 30 something years or whatever, and he has a life sentence. But then he meets this I think this Puerto Rican guy who has a diamond guitar, and this guy's really good at the diamond guitar. And anyway, long story short, after spending a few days in prison together, they decide to insinuate a breakout or breaking out of the prison. But anyway, long story short, while breaking out, our narrator guy, or our main character guy, he breaks his ankle during the thing, and then the Puerto Rican guy just up and leaves him, doesn't come back. But so the narrator guy, or the main character guy, is credited with trying to stop the breakout, even though it ended up happening anyway, and he inherits the Puerto Rican guy's diamond guitar. So yeah, obviously that one was just really boring. It was also the shortest story, but it was also my least favorite, which is very ironic to say the least. I was just not a fan of that one. I mean, the main character guy was okay, but I just didn't really find anything else to truly like about it. So there's that. But then our final story is called A Christmas Memory. And so it is a bit out of topic for Christmas right now. It is currently the middle of, not July, August, when I'm making this. But I will say that Christmas Memory is probably the most wholesome one. So basically, the narrator is the 7-year-old child, and then his best friend is his cousin, who's like 60 years old. And basically, this story goes over their last Christmas that they spent together. Basically, they live in an era of prohibition, so they kind of have to get alcohol and, illegal ways and stuff. But basically, what this goes over them like getting the Christmas tree and stuff and set up for their family's Christmas celebration. But then the next year, the boy goes off to boarding school, and his 60-year-old cousin, she gets Alzheimer's and eventually passes, so she has no memory of who the boy was, and unfortunately she passes before they can speak again. So, I mean, this is probably the most wholesome one, as I said. I mean, it's just about a boy and his friend trying to do something nice for their family during Christmas. And it's not too long either. None of these are really long outside of Breakfast at Tiffany's. But A Christmas Memory, I just kind of felt it was a little boring. But I will say that it does get extra bonus points for being the most wholesome of the bunch. And so that's all I really kind of have to say about those stories. So those were the 4 stories, and that is what they are all about mostly. So like I mentioned, I was not the biggest fan of this collection. Usually when I review a collection, there are a couple duds in there, but there are usually at least some to most of them that I actually do like. I didn't really like any of these stories in here. It's like I said, Breakfast at Tiffany's was the best one, only because it had the length and the most character development in it to kind of justify its existence. But these other 3, I don't really know why they were in here. Apparently, those 3 stories that I talked about, they are considered to be 3 of Truman Capote's most popular. And I just gotta say, they may be his most popular, but they certainly aren't his greatest, because I wasn't really a fan of any of them outside of Christmas Memory, which was really just wholesome more than anything. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this review is a lot more negative than my usual reviews, and I do regret to make this a negative review. But I just really do not have all that many good things to say about this collection. Breakfast at Tiffany's was fine, albeit annoying, and then the stories were either wholesome, or forgettable, or just too weird. So I mean, yeah, that's really about it. I have just decided that I just do not like Truman Capote's writing, which I'm sure maybe an unpopular opinion to some, but apparently a lot of people don't like Truman Capote's writing. And I don't really know if I want to check out In Cold Blood anymore, which is like which is a novel he wrote. I had shown interest in reading that in the past, but now after this Breakfast at Tiffany's thing, I don't really know if I want to. I don't know if I want to sit through another Truman Capote book because I'm afraid that I just will find it. I'm just afraid I won't like it like Breakfast at Tiffany's. So unfortunately, this video is of course very negative, and I cannot recommend you read Breakfast at Tiffany's or any of the other 3 stories in this collection. I wish I had more positive news. But yeah, unfortunately, it is just not very good, and I would say that this is the only collection I've ever read where I did not like any of the stories in here. So, unfortunately, I cannot recommend Breakfast at Tiffany's. Do not read it. Don't waste your time. But I am willing to check out the movie because I do know that the movie is quite a bit different and more upbeat. So, maybe I'll like the movie better, but I certainly wasn't huge on the story. But anyway, guys, that is it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed my review for Breakfast at Tiffany's and 3 other stories. Once again, I do regret that it wasn't more positive and that it was just pretty much negative the entire time, but I really tried to like this book, but I just did not like it at all. But anyway, that stuff just happens sometimes. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video regardless. I'm sure you will all have varying opinions on my view of Breakfast at Tiffany's. Some of you are probably going to agree. Some of you are probably going to disagree, depending on where you are. But yeah, overall, that is the end of this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below if you have not already. And yeah, I've been Mr. BG. This has been BG's Books, and I will see you guys in the next video.